Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Farzy Show, presented by MyBookie, MyBookie.ag. It's wonderful to have you along for this ride, despite how bumpy it's going to be, despite how bumpy it was for this Philadelphia Eagles season. What really sucks about all of this for the Philadelphia Eagles is we've talked about all the same problems that the Eagles had yesterday. We talked about it throughout this entire season. And those problems that we talked about throughout the entire season followed the Eagles into the playoffs for their one and done playoff appearance at home against the San Francisco 49ers, who 1,000% outcoached the Philadelphia Eagles. Yesterday was a masterclass in doing more with a whole hell of a lot less. That's what it was yesterday. Robert Saleh doesn't have Fred Warner, hasn't had him, as a matter of fact. They've signed Eric Kendricks, who played 3 games. And he goes out there and he's right in on the final play of the game that was the dagger to the Philadelphia Eagles' hopes, dreams, and chances of repeating as Super Bowl champions. This team loses George Kittle during the game. And still somehow Kyle Shanahan manufactures an offense with Christian McCaffrey. Yes, one of the best players in the NFL, sure. But against a fully charged Vic Fangio defense, they're pulling plays out of their behind, including a wide receiver touchdown pass to Christian McCaffrey. Spawn Jennings, more specifically, touchdown pass to Christian McCaffrey. Eagles got pantsed on that. Reed Blankenship pantsed on that. Yesterday was a masterclass. Yeah, we don't have the best tools here, but we're going to organize them in the best possible way. We'll even give you 2 interceptions. We'll lose the turnover battle. 2-0, as a matter of fact. 0-2, actually, if you're speaking from the 49ers standpoint. And we're still going to win the game. You know why? We're not going to stop taking chances. And we're sure as hell not going to play scared. Speaking as the San Francisco 49ers. On the Philadelphia Eagles side of things, what a tease. Oh, let me go back to this. As far as the problems you had during the regular season, I mean, the defense figured it out, and they became better and better as the season went on, especially after the Jalen Phillips acquisition at the trade deadline. Vic Fangio gets 2 All-Pros in his secondary. Both show up. Quinyon Mitchell, that first drive against Quinyon Mitchell, okay, worrisome. But right after that, you saw every ounce of the All-Pro. But the problems that you had throughout the entire season, you saw in this game, and it had to do with first half or second half. And I don't believe in playoff switches. I told you guys that before, on Friday when we were talking. I don't believe in playoff switches. I believe you are who you are. You don't just become a different team in the postseason. And then here's one of the things that was so horrifying about the game yesterday, other than the outcome, was the fact that in the first half, if you would have told me that somebody kidnapped Kevin Patullo or Nick Sirianni and somehow like Kyle Shanahan's radio frequencies were going into Jalen Hurts' headset, into his helmet, and he was running like creative San Francisco 49ers style plays, Kyle Shanahan style play, I would have been like, yeah, that makes sense because this looks like a different offense. First half, you actually see them use Tank Bigsby similar to the way they use Kenny Gainwell. Oh, Saquon Barkley needs a break. Oh, let's put in Tank Bigsby. He pops off a 4-yard run, a 9-yard run, and a 7-yard run, and then gets 1 carry in the second half. Hey, that guy that was working, let's never use him again. Yeah, great idea. Sound like the regular season? It's the regular season. General play calling in the first half. Again, beautiful. I thought maybe Kevin Patullo got kidnapped or something. And then in the second half, same old things that we have seen throughout the entire season. First half, you're just dedicated to the run, ground and pound, more or less. They're just going to control the line of scrimmage. They're going to control the football. They're not going to turn the football over and give the 49ers more opportunities. And they committed to it. Then you saw a 20-yard pass, which was the longest pass of the game by the Eagles offense, by Jalen Hurts, and it was a screenplay that was like out of a wizard's book. Like, I haven't seen Jalen Hurts drop back, look to the right, and then calmly look to the left. Boom, hit Saquon Barkley, and they run a successful screen. I'm like, wow, maybe there is a playoff switch. Maybe hope is alive. Maybe they were saving some things for the postseason. And then, oh my goodness gracious, a jet sweep. Oh, a jet sweep with your tight end. I mean, I don't love it, but it worked. Hadn't seen it. It wasn't predictable above all else. And then if there's any type of switch that actually exists and it's easy to believe in, it's the first half to second half switch that we've seen from the Eagles. Now 3 times at least. 4 times really if you include the first game of the season where in the second half they just shut it down against the Dallas Cowboys as CD Lamb had a big case of the dropsies. You look at that game, you look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game, you look at the Buffalo Bills game, obviously, and then you look at this game. At least this game, they actually put points on the board in the second half, a couple of field goals, but nothing worth bragging about, but at least they're points. You take a couple of shots downfield to A.J. Brown. Neither one of them worked, most notably because A.J.'s effort. The first one on the first drop for A.J. Brown, or the first play, I should say, with A.J. Brown, is the play where the ball's kind of to his side. On first seeing it, I thought it was behind him. I got to look at the all 22 today to see really where that ball dropped, but it looked like it was more to the side of him, and he made no like leaning effort or anything like that. The second one that was down the sideline, AJ's hand fighting with the defensive back. I thought there could have been PI there, but AJ gets to the ground way too late. Doesn't necessarily lay out for it. Ball hits him in his hands, and he drops it. We'll get into a little sideline spat in a second with Nick Sirianni and A.J. Brown. But then in the fourth quarter, when you're trying to make something happen and your backs are against the wall, he comes up with just an egregious drop. Like, terrible. And we've seen that more this year than any other year from A.J. Brown. It should never have come down to it. Like, you could talk about drops. You can talk about that particular drop. Dallas Goedert ended up bailing you out by getting you the first down on the next play. But how you have your backs against the wall as an offense is egregious. And the number one thing, the nail in the coffin, if you will, when it comes to Kevin Patullo's career as a play caller, it's going to be this game. There's no way he ever calls a play again for the Philadelphia Eagles. Hey, look, I don't want to just end the guy's career, but it seems like it's going to be a minute before he'll get another gig calling plays. The idea that on 2nd and 18, you give the ball to Saquon Barkley to lose one more yard for you to set up a 3rd and 19. That's what happened in the second half. Like, what do you... It's just things like that just drive me absolutely bananas. I think it was the first 3rd down conversion the Eagles attempted. They went with that empty backfield. And I hate when they do that, especially when they have Saquon Barkley, because I'd love to at least have Saquon Barkley be able to, on a 3rd and 2, I think it was, I'd love to have at least Saquon Barkley just kind of leak out into the flat a little bit. Make the defense think you might run it. And I thought, oh, they'll go quarterback draw. They didn't. There's no creativity. You see Dallas Goedert continuously running stop routes. You really see all their wide receivers just running way too many stop routes. You see Dallas Goedert on that same 3rd and 2 run a hitch, and the middle of the field is wide open. Dallas Goedert's at his best, not when he's just sitting down in coverage, especially when it's man-to-man, for crying out loud. He's better when he's in motion. And it's not like Jalen can't hit him in stride. He has done it time and time again. The fact that they didn't do that in this game when Eric Kendricks is their linebacker is beyond me. You can't bring back Kevin Patullo after a defensive coordinator, true, as good as Robert Saleh is, just beat your healthy, well-rested offense with a mash unit. There's no excuse. There's no bringing Kevin. There's no surviving this. Like Nick Sirianni, I understand he's not going to go out there at the podium after the game and go, all right, well, that season sucked. Anyway, Kevin's fired. That sucks. Okay, so anyway, we're going to look for a new offensive coordinator. And then this is the vicious cycle that we talked about. I talked about this with when Kellen Moore was hired. So this isn't revisionist history. This is just me going back to things I already said. But the vicious cycle that you set up when you don't have a head coach that can call plays or even be a CEO head coach. Here's the problem. I've said it all along. Nick Sirianni is not a CEO head coach. Like I have never called him that. I have called him an assistant to the regional manager head coach, but never a CEO. All right. That's one of the reasons he's still here. That's one of the reasons he got another chance last year and they won the Super Bowl. He had less to do with everything. Vic Fangio ran the defense. Kellen Moore ran the offense. They started going back to similar philosophies that maybe Nick Sirianni did in 2022 with Jalen Hurts and the Eagles when they went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Kansas City Chiefs in round 1 of that Super Bowl matchup. But Kellen Moore certainly was the guy calling the plays, and he at least knew when to implement or when to call plays, what was the right play at the right time. Oh, and they also had a dominant run game, historically dominant. You didn't have that failsafe this year with the Eagles. So what am I supposed to credit Nick Sirianni for? I'm the guy that says if you want to look at one thing that he does great, he gets his players ready. Players didn't look ready yesterday. Not ready for the second half, at least. And they were well rested. They were fresh. Remember, they rested their starters. They could have hosted the Packers. Now, I don't want to go back to that because I still thought they were going to beat the 49ers. I'm in no way, shape, or form surprised that they lost to the 49ers. But I would have liked to know what they would have done against the Packers, especially when the Packers were the team collapsed in the second half. 2 teams in a collapse off in the second half. Oh, that would have been a real nail biter, wouldn't it? By the way, on that note, I didn't watch Hard Knocks. I think it's the final episode of Hard Knocks. It must have been, yeah. But I did go back. I didn't watch it last week. I watched it, whatever it was, Friday night, Saturday night, maybe. And I found it really interesting. The last episode of Hard Knocks, Jordan Davis and Tyler Steen, I believe. Yeah, it was definitely Tyler Steen. I think it was Jordan Davis. They're walking off the field together at the end of the Commanders' loss at the end of the season. And Jordan Davis says, playoffs, here we come. And Tyler Steen says, could have been the number 2 seed. And Jordan Davis says, oh, it's all right. It's the playoffs, man. We got this. Home field, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's interesting. Tyler Steen at least knows that they should have played. How about that? Interesting. Thank you, Hard Knocks, for carrying that because I felt the same way. Now, even if you miraculously pull out that win last night, and let's say Jalen Hurts goes to the single coverage on the outside on that final throw as opposed to Dallas Goedert in the middle of the field that has, 4 white jerseys around him. Let's say Jalen Hurts doesn't do that. Let's say there's even a better play call there. Let's say there's better play calling throughout and you win that game handily last night. Anyway, I digress. Yeah, sure. I'd like to see what happened in Chicago at Soldier Field. Would love to see a rematch. I'd love to have one more game. But the same problems that we've talked about all throughout the season reared their ugly heads again in the postseason. And when we go through the season, me, Seth Joyner, and Derek Gunn, when we go through the season on pre and post, the Eagles will pull out a win against the Bills or something, and we'll be criticizing them. And people are like, they won the game, right? A win is a win. Yeah, we're not watching it. We're not watching the same game. We're watching a game and measuring a team against being a Super Bowl champion again. And that's not just because they were the defending Super Bowl champions. That's not because that's because when you have a team like the Philadelphia Eagles that is assembled to win now and do a lot of winning now, you measure them against whether or not they could be a Super Bowl champion, whether or not it's just be a Super Bowl champion, period, or be a Super Bowl champion again. And throughout this season, I never got the vibe that this was a Super Bowl championship team. And I told you even I told you Friday. Yeah, I saw them winning against the 49ers, but I don't see a Super Bowl championship. I don't see them making it to the Super Bowl. And if they were, the defense was going to be the star of the show. And unfortunately, you had a couple of defensive breakdowns yesterday that did not help the cause, especially when your offense can only put up 19 points. So, yeah, the problems from the regular season reared their ugly heads in this one. Penalties were wild in this game. I don't blame it at all, but I don't like seeing 7 penalties on the Eagles, 1 on the 49ers, and the 1 on the 49ers was questionable. Jalen Hurts has taken worse hits on that unnecessary roughness penalty. He's taken worse hits than that, but got the flag this time around. Great. I mentioned they won the turnover battle. Time of possession. If you would have told me the Eagles were going to win the turnover battle 2-0, and their time of possession was going to be 11 more minutes than the 49ers, which to me would say, oh, well, their defense was rested. Their defense wasn't, taxed horribly, especially late in the game. Fourth quarter, it was like 7:30 time of possession. So it's pretty even there. If you would have told me win the time of possession, win the turnover battle, I would have said, oh, then the Eagles definitely won this game. They did not, obviously. We talked about the second half problems, the penalties, the bad play calling, the missed point after. I mean, look, I know Pinheiro missed one too, but you never think about that. You think about what you could have done. If you don't miss that point after, Jake Elliott, after the opening drive, after your first possession, you're then talking about in that fourth quarter just getting in field goal range and sending it to overtime. Yeah, it's 1 point, but it's not about even the point total. It's about the situation that it puts you in, the opportunity that it gives you. And they missed that opportunity there. Also, something else we've talked about all season long, 3-and-outs. 4 3-and-outs in the second half. 4 3-and-outs in the second half. And there's one moment that really made me think, oh, they're going to lose this football game. And specifically, it was their first field goal of the second half. The Eagles do get the field goal. They got the ball at the San Francisco 46-yard line. Morstead only punted it 25 yards from the San Francisco 21-yard line to the 46. The Eagles then run 10 plays for just 23 yards. 10 plays. They got the ball at the 46. They ran 10 plays. They got 23 yards. They had to settle for a 41-yard field goal. That's the moment when I went, oh, damn it. They get the ball in San Francisco territory. Ran 10 plays and only got 23 yards out of that. That coupled with 2 interceptions equaling 3 points off those turnovers, terrible. Absolutely terrible. A second half for the ugly ages, the dark ages, that's for sure. But that moment, that 10-play drive from the 46-yard line, they basically got, they got the 3 points. What would he do? But that's the moment where I went, oh, damn. Now, the trick play, that was rough because, look, Kyle Shanahan doesn't have George Kittle anymore. All he's got really is, Demarcus Robinson was having a phenomenal game, but he's got Christian McCaffrey. When Kittle went out, my thought was, I don't want Kyle Shanahan desperate because Kyle Shanahan, now extremely desperate, is going to get extremely creative. And I thought, something's coming, and we're not going to see it coming, and this Eagles team is going to get pantsed. And that's exactly what happened in the second half when they scored that touchdown. When they went Jennings to McCaffrey. That was the moment. The other thing was a play design that I think would melt the Eagles' brains if they ever tried to run it with Saquon Barkley. On that touchdown that put him in front for good to Christian McCaffrey, they line up Christian McCaffrey to the right of Brock Purdy, deep in the red zone. What yard line were they on? The 4-yard line. McCaffrey's lined up to his right, and he runs that route in front of Purdy, goes between the guard and tackle on the left side of the line of scrimmage. Cuts to the outside, little juke, nothing worth bragging about. Nakobe Dean just standing there, and Christian McCaffrey comes back to the middle of the end zone, touchdown. That was just like a basic thing to do. And if you're Nakobe Dean, you're thinking don't get beat to the outside. Well, you didn't. You got beat to the inside. Just a little thing like that. It just seems like a little nuance. That doesn't seem like a big deal, but you're expecting Christian McCaffrey to leak out to the flat on the right. You're maybe expecting him to run an F under, but no, he completely confuses your defense by just going to the other side of the football field on the route. I'm not a big fan of silver linings at this moment, but if you are looking for one, I don't think you'll ever see Kevin Patullo call another play for the Eagles. There's really no defending it, especially when you have a Mike McDaniels out there. You have a Brian Dable out there. You'll even have a Mike Kafka out there, like guys with more experience as play callers. And one of the other things that is annoying about this is, and really just quite frankly disappointing, is we ran this before. We saw this play before. Philadelphia Eagles, after a trip to the Super Bowl and losing their offensive coordinator to a head coaching job in Shane Steichen, they went with an in-house hire. Someone who hadn't called plays. It resulted in the end of the season, one of the worst collapse in history, losing 6-7, including the playoffs. It also included Jalen Hurts looking like cheeks, all right, in 2023, and something that will hang over our heads forever. And you end up firing that offensive coordinator and play caller in Brian Johnson. Then you bring in a veteran, and this is the vicious cycle that I referenced earlier, in Kellen Moore. He comes in, you win a Super Bowl, and just like that, he's gone, and you're back in the same spot. So what do? Oh, here's an idea. Let's hire a guy that we've passed over twice because somehow he's ready. And it's another one-and-done playoff performance. So now it looks like we're going to jump back into that vicious cycle again. And the only way I see them not jumping back into that vicious cycle again is if they bring in John Harbaugh, which, by the way, I was just thinking of Tom Moore, who also, they're not going to all of a sudden coax out of retirement after a 68-year career. But I don't see John Harbaugh coming here. He wants full power. How is not giving that up again? Jeffrey Lurie doesn't want a coach in here that is going to tell him what to do. That ain't happening. Nick Sirianni ain't going anywhere either. So next year, it looks like we're going to get right back in that same vicious cycle. They're going to probably hire an experienced offensive coordinator, an experienced offensive play caller, and then next year he'll be a head coach, or 2 years from now he'll be a head coach. But if you get back into a Super Bowl conversation in the meantime, all right, let's do it. But again, that's the vicious cycle that you're in right now. Now, as far as the A.J. Brown and Nick Sirianni spat on the sidelines, Nick said after the game, first off, A.J. just leaving is Bush League. Dude. Just leaving? No explanation. Nothing. After 2 huge drops and really, I'll say 2 horrible efforts. Nothing. You got nothing. Just going to deuces. You're out. Really? Not cool. But Nick Sirianni did speak about what happened with him and A.J. Brown at the end of that first half when he was caught getting in the face of A.J. Brown, literally running up the sideline to yell at A.J. I 100% believe it was about effort. Nick Sirianni said it was about, just trying to get A.J. off the field. You're adorable, Nick Sirianni. You're adorable. I don't believe that for a second. I believe it was all about effort. Now, if I really had to reach and say it was about anything else, and this would be a reach, but I'm just trying to be somewhat open-minded here. Let me get this out of the way. It was about effort. But if I really had to think, like, well, okay, what else could it have been? The only other thing would be AJ's got to fight for flags. And he hasn't done that. In the Buffalo Bills game, remember, he had his hand pinned. The defensive back had his hand pinned. He tried to make a one-arm catch, and they just was like, dum-de-dum-de-dum. And it's like, dude, you got to throw your hands up in the air. You got to say there's no flag there. He's holding my hand. Something to make the referees go, I bet I should have. Okay, fine. Something, because sometimes you can be coaxed into doing that. You see officials, it happens, where nothing's called, and then all of a sudden, rah, 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 and then all of a sudden it gets called. The first drop, I'll call it, with A.J. Brown, which was the second deep ball to him at the end of that first half. The second one was he's hand fighting, and he's literally, the defensive back's not looking back at the ball. He's literally just got A.J. AJ's trying to make a motion for the ball. He's being held. Finally, he gets free, puts his hands on the ball, drops it. Like, at some point, you got to throw your hands up in the air and like the flag. If I had to say it was anything other than effort, I would say it was just not. You got to be screaming and yelling for flags, man. But again, like I said, that's a stretch. It was about effort. But just in case anybody doubts that, that's the only other direction I might accept. Philadelphia Eagles season's over for the same reason we all thought it would be over way too early. The offense let you down. Simple as that. I did think Kyle Shanahan was going to put up a record of 20 points against Vic Fangio, a personal record, and here he goes putting up 23. Whoopity-doo. Whoopity-doo. We're all having fun. Let me get some. Oh, wow. You guys are popping off in the chat. First, let me tell you about PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. Before I get into the chat, Kevin Patullo, it'll be his last game. A.J. Brown, most likely his last game. And sadly, we may have seen the last of Lane Johnson already. I hope not. But we'll see where he's at. Let's get into the chat. You guys are popping off, and I appreciate it. Julius, what's up? Shocked about nobody. Dude, Eagles, man. God bless you, but Eagles. How is Sirianni's entire offensive staff still employed? Patullo's getting the axe. He's going to be the sacrificial lamb. Arthur, KP, send us home, pretty much. Sean Gillespie, hello. Cousin, what's going on, cousin? I'm so pissed. Farzy says, Joey, you and me both. Sean, it came true. What we talked about. Very dumb. Finally moving on from KP. Yep, that's the way that's going to go. John Cheeseborough, good morning. Chico, morning Farzy, love you guys last night. I'm so speechless. Yeah, I thought I was going to be speechless, and then I turned the mic on, and that's all I needed. Refused to watch Hard Knocks. There's some good stuff in there. Yeah, Tyler Steen. How about this? Mekhi Becton was last year's MVP the whole time. Who knew? Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and Mekhi Becton. Those were the MVPs. Sweet P, April, good morning. Bills are hypocrites for the snow plow or the tush push, whatever they call it. Colombian, what's going on? I like the way Farzy added cheeks to his sports commentary vernacular. You're welcome. Awesome. Adjective. Adjective. Thank you. Yes. AJ's going to go. I believe he is going to go. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great, as per usual. Fox 29 today, 7:45. We did Locked On 76ers last night, despite me seeing basically none of the game. I just teed up Keith Pompey throughout that. I do have the reason there's no Locked On 76ers today, live taping, it was due at 10, is my uncle's funeral is today, so I'll be tending to that and my family. So, and I appreciate all the people that reached out and just gave me nice words. That's very kind of you. Thank you very much. Great man. He'll be missed terribly, that's for sure. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. My name's Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Back with you guys tomorrow for the Farzy Show. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.